Hi, my name is Elise. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm pretty much new here too, child. Or welcome back if you saw my first video. So I just wanted to give a little story time, catch you all up on like where I am right now, and then kind of we'll back it on up. But yeah, so if you are following me on Instagram or you happen to be one of my clients, then you do know that I decided to take a step back and regroup. I did post on Instagram that I'm going to be closing my business temporarily. And I just wanted to come and kind of give an explanation of what's going on and what caused me to want to do this. For those that don't know, I have been in business, at least like doing performing services for a little over 2 years. I have a suite in Smyrna, Georgia that I'm in the process of moving out of. I really enjoyed my time there. The person that I rent from, I love her. It's definitely a bittersweet thing. I just feel like, well, at the time that I decided to make the choice to move on, I just was feeling very overwhelmed. And this is something that had been going on. It wasn't like I just woke up one day and felt overwhelmed, but I had been feeling overwhelmed for a while. And so I decided to just go ahead and just step back. Just a little background. I did rent my suite right out of after graduating and becoming licensed. I was not initially planning to go that route, but that's just the way everything came together. And it just came together so seamlessly, and it just made sense, The first time the owner of the location that I was working out of, the first time that she contacted me, I was like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not interested in getting a suite yet. But shortly after that, I was just thinking about it, and something just kept saying, you know what, do it, just do it. And I was like, okay. So my plan was to start working at a wax center. That was my plan all through school, because I that's what I wanted to do. That was the whole point of me going to esthetician school in the first place, was to become a wax. I wanted to wax. So my plan was to go work at this wax studio. And I was like, okay, well, I can use the money that I make there to kind of offset things, because I'm a mom, I have a house, I have big girl bills. I'm a grown woman, and I don't have help. So I was like, okay, well, I have that job, and then I'll have my suite, and I'll just have to really grind it out. So we had a grand opening for the shop, because I started at the way beginning. I started when she started her actual like brick and mortar, and so we had the grand opening on a Sunday. That very next day on Monday, I started working at this wax center, and then that Thursday, I got hit by an 18-wheeler. That was, of course, not in the plan at all. So after my accident, I had a lot of people asking me like, well, why don't you just, let her know that you can't do the shop anymore, because, that's a lot on you, and financially you can't even work. So how you going to pay the rent? It was just a lot. And I was like, well, no, I have a contract with her. I don't want to pull out on her just because of something that happened with me. And then with me not being able to really work the way that I needed to and keep up with the, what they expected at this wax center, I needed another source of income. So I said, you know what, I'm going to have to thug it out with my suite. And so that's what I did. And it was very tough. It was extremely tough. I went through a lot. And I don't encourage anyone who has the kind of bills that I have, children depending on them and things like that, to go out and become a solo esthetician with like essentially no money really saved up, no help, no job to help fund and support, because it costs. The products cost, everything costs, the rent. It's a lot that goes into having your own sweet. Definitely like if you open up a whole spot, you know. But I don't regret anything. And at the same time, like I'll tell people, well, I don't know, I don't recommend it. You need to look out for this, this, and but I'll never tell nobody, you know, don't do it, because clearly I did it. So yeah, I can't really speak on the accident part of things, but one day we will circle back. But what I can say, like, you know, I dealt with some things from that. And then when I was ready to try to get back to work, when I felt like, well, I wasn't even ready to get back to work, like no any kind of physical work or anything like that. It's just that I financially had to go back to work because it had gotten that bad for me personally. I was taking care of my shop obligations, but my personal life, not so much. So I was like, yeah, it's time to just go ahead and go back to working a job, regardless of how your body is feeling. If you want to keep your house and you want to support your children, this is what you're going to have to do. So I decided to go ahead and go back to work. And then, and I'll share more of this story as well, I unfortunately was diagnosed with cancer. So I was not able to go right back to work. I had to undergo surgery and radiation. And so that was a process. And then from there, I did end up going back to work. I have been back working a full-time job for the past year. And I love my job. I really do. But I want to get back into the shop, obviously, full-time. And I'm now at this crossroads where I've decided to move out of my suite. So basically, in a nutshell, the reason that I'm deciding to shut down temporarily and the issue that I was having back then, and just the whole over 2 years experience, has been I've struggled with building my clientele. You know, some months were pretty good. Some months I was like, okay, you know, I got some new clients coming through. And, you know, they would come, and some of them would continue to come. Some didn't. You know, I tried Groupon. That wasn't all that successful. I'll make a video on that too. But yeah, I tried so many different things to try to, you know, build my clientele. I did a lot of things to try to keep my clientele and keep my clients happy. And at the end of the day, I don't really feel like it was anything that I was doing wrong as far as like the client retention part. I do feel like, or I do know that a lot of my clients went through things themselves financially. And I know that that had, you know, an impact on my business. But at the end of the day, if I had more clients just coming in regularly and I was building my clientele regularly, I would have been more successful. And that's where the problem lied. You know, the problem lied in my marketing. I could have done better marketing. I could have done more marketing. I could have created more content. There were things, like, I will not sit here and say I just did everything. There were things that I could have done better had the circumstances been a little different for me. But then there were things that I felt like were really out of my control. You know, I really love being an esthetician. I really love caring for my client's skin. And taking this break, this step back, is just not, you know, even though I'm excited and happy to like get a sense of relief, you know, at the same time, it's just not something I'm happy about. But I just had to really think about that place that I was in last year, that year when before I was diagnosed and then after being diagnosed, where I was just depending solely on the money that I made at the shop. I was barely paying my rent at the shop. And then if I could barely pay my rent at the shop, what do you think is happening at home? I'm not able to pay my mortgage. I'm not able to, you know, do the things that I need to do for my kids, for my family, keep up with my bills. Like, I cannot put myself back in a situation like that. Like, yes, I have a job now and I make enough money to sustain my household and also pay my rent at the shop and get supplies and stuff. But at the end of the day, every month, or like, you know, having to pay either dang near the whole rent out of my personal finances or the whole rent out of my personal finances, that's just not reasonable, you know, because my kids need things, and I want to be able to provide certain things for my kids, even outside of what they need. You know, I want to be able to provide experiences. It's the summertime. I'm not robbing my kids of a happy summer because I want to push this business that's just not thriving. At some point, you have to stop and you have to just regroup, you know. So that's where I'm at. I'm going back to planning. I'm going back to try to think like what went wrong, what could have been better, getting myself physically back as close to operating at 100% as possible so that I can go even harder for my business. So initially my plan was to take a break from until I would say September, maybe January. But when I started speaking about like saying January, throwing that out there, people were like, wait a minute, that is too long for a break. September is pushing it, you know. So I don't know, we'll see. I'm starting to feel like it might be a little more like June-ish, July-ish, because, you know, I don't want to feel like I'm giving up on my business. I am not giving up on my business, and I'm not giving up on my clients. You know, I'm at home right now. I have a whole setup here at the house, but I don't take clients at home, obviously. But, you know, family and friends, they can come see me in the meantime. But, you know, that's just not my thing. I really want to get back out there. I have to figure out what I want to do because it's hard. You know, you got to really put yourself out there. And I cannot honestly say I was putting myself out there as much as I needed to. I don't think people really understand. The thing I want people to really understand, and it's like, you don't want, I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me at all. Like, you ain't got to feel sorry for me. I have a lot to be thankful for, a lot to be grateful for. I have a lot going for me. You know what I mean? So by all means, don't feel sorry for me. But please understand that when you go through something as serious as having cancer, it affects you on so many levels. It affects you emotionally. It affects you mentally. It affects you financially. It affects you physically. And I don't think people like realize all of these things. And it's just like, I think when people see me not going out to events, not, you know, promoting my business and doing these things, it's not because I don't want to. It's because when you work a full-time job and you have kids and your kids play sports and have extracurricular activities and do all these things, you're tired. A normal person, a normal functioning person would be tired. Now imagine going through radiation. I might be done that, but guess what? That was less than a year ago. So has it been a year yet? Actually, it's been a year since I finished radiation, actually, because I finished right before I started my job. But so what? I am still insanely tired. It is what it is, you know. So, and it's getting better, but I just be wanting people to just understand that. Like, don't look at it like, oh, you know, she just didn't do this, she didn't do that. I was barely functioning. I've been barely functioning, you know, and that's why I feel like I need to take this break, because it's like sometimes you get to the point where you push yourself so hard that like the smallest thing will make you just snap and break. That's where I'm at right now. So I'm embracing this little break I'm about to take, but I don't plan to make it a long one. But yeah, if you would like to hear more about like how I was diagnosed with cancer, how I was feeling, the thoughts I was having, what that whole process was like for me, what recovery has been like for me, then of course stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like and comment any questions that you might have, share the video, support my channel. And yeah, I will be touching more on that experience. I will eventually talk more about this whole accident I got into. I'll be talking about a lot on my channel. But yeah, so thank you for watching, and stay tuned.